Greetings! Welcome to the SciFi Pubcast, the podcast that tries to be a pub, and perhaps someday a pub that tries to be a podcast. And as always, we are looking for customers to come visit our bar. So if you're passionate about something and want to be on a podcast, well, let us know, because this bar is all about community. Yes, it really is. And we're not doing this for money. We don't have Patreon. We don't sell advertising. I think that could be a good idea if you actually had any advertisers. But if you want to help us out, please consider leaving us a 5-star review wherever you find the show, joining our little Discord server, and subscribing to our YouTube channel. My name is Joel. I'm the so-called owner of the SciFi Pubcast, so to speak. And today, well, folks, let's see who's in. We have Kerry Simpson, we have Derek Beebe, and we have a regular customer of the bar. He's been on before. It's been a while. It's been over a year now. Yes, Mike Clark returns to the pub to talk about today's topic. So let's talk about this. Mike, how you doing?
Well, all things considering, the family is happy and healthy, given the still in the midst of the pandemic. So we count our blessings and consider ourselves very fortunate given the situation out there right now.
That's well said. Mike, I first met you several Star Wars celebrations ago. I think we've been friends for several years now. We are part of some chat groups as well, one on Slack, which Derek is also a big part of. My understanding is that you're from Maryland, right? You live in Maryland?
Yep,
Cool.
that's correct. Right at the top of the Chesapeake Bay in Havre de Grace, Maryland. It's about 35 minutes northeast of Baltimore City.
Right. And I think the last time you came on the show was like last Christmas. We talked about Endgame, right? With a really bad audio on my part because I was at my aunt's place in like Western New York. Yeah.
I think I may have actually been with you guys right when the pandemic was about to start. I think there may have been something back then. I can't quite remember.
I'd be surprised if it was a full year.
Yeah. Okay. I just noticed on Skype it said a year, but Skype can lie. So.
You might be right. I mean, honestly, I'm still in March, right? The mindset is completely like time is meaningless at this point.
Fair enough.
Time. What is that? I don't know the meaning of this word anymore.
Yeah. And before we started to record, Mike, you were saying about something about a local beer or a local brewery you like.
Oh yeah. So actually, in my my solo cup, it's not red, but it does have solo on it. We have a local farm brewery here that just opened up this summer called, oh man, how am I going to forget them now? That was a nice plug. I'll think about it. I'll think about it in a sec. I'll come back to you on it.
It happens to me all the time.
Oh, Hopkins Farm Brewery, because I should have known. Johns Hopkins is a hospital here in Baltimore, so I should have associated. They're not related. It's a local ownership family there, the Hopkins family that does this. But they opened up in July or June, and right when of course with the pandemic, all we were doing was a lot of outdoor activities. So when they started opening up, and they're got a really picturesque spot on the farm with lots of woods and trees. It's very earthy feel, but they started doing their own brewery, of course, and they've got, I don't know, they have like 10 to 12, I think, different beers on tap at any given time, and they circulate quite a few. So I think we found ourselves going there almost, at least every other weekend or something like that. It was like, because it's only like about 3 miles from our house, and we have other ones like this that have popped up in Maryland, but nothing nearby. This is the first, so we wanted to go support the local businesses, and they have a lot of great stuff. This is a holiday ale, actually. It's got a little bit of that. I don't want to say like what's the gulag or the stuff that they put in wine, when they have the extra the flavors in this time of year, the spices and such.
Oh right, I know what you're talking about, like blue wine, but that's like a cold version of it, right? So,
yeah, but they've got similar type of herbal stuff and things like that or whatever in this beer, but it's an interesting flavor. But it's basically an ale with some of that stuff added in, and they call it the holiday ale, and it's really good. So I'm enjoying it while I talk with you guys.
Mike, I'm jealous because I'm actually stone sober right now, and I'm not even hungover. Like, what's up with me? Really. It's like my life is improving or something like that. It's terrible.
I'll have one for you, Joe.
Oh, thanks. Right, Carrie, how you doing down in California?
I'm doing good. It's just afternoon right now, so I'm still caffeinating, and preparing for 2 more podcasts to record today. So yay! I have way too much. Yeah, I have. Well, I say I have too much to do, but I really don't. I need to finish up my first watch through of the original V series, and then figure out what I'm gonna watch after that.
Yeah, Beware the Lizard Man. Sorry, spoilers if you haven't seen it from 40 years ago, or the remake from like 20 years ago. But yeah, V, that's cool.
Hey, I did Alien Nation last month. I was like, continue with like 80s, 90s sci-fi stuff.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not?
I'm busy watching, of course, the Mandalorian season finale of season 2. Which is amazing. And by the way, we might get some spoilers. So if you haven't seen the finale yet, yeah, go watch that because that's part of the whole Disney news.
We may talk something about that.
Yes. I mean, if you haven't seen it yet, man, come on, what are you doing here? I mean, I know, we're pretty popular, right? At the bar, the bar's very hopping place, but
well, it's the holidays. People are busy, and we really try not to spoil things, except if it's like dated, and because this is the pub, and it can't be perfect.
I will say that is the one advantage of me being on the West Coast is I don't have to worry about setting an alarm to wake up to watch The Mandalorian. I just stay up until midnight and then go to bed whenever it's done.
We had that discussion recently where there was a little bit of debate in our little Slack group about mostly me complaining, but because I have to get up with the kids on Fridays, usually with work and then with school for them. And so typically, because I don't want to get spoiled, I've been trying to get up early enough. I have to figure out what the run times are so I can backdate our usual wake up time to have enough time to watch the show. But it's always like sometimes, and the kids are excited. They want to go and see it, but it's always hard to wake them up still anyway. None of us are morning people in my family. So, it's like, if it would come out at 9 o'clock at night, that'd be great. I go watch it, go to bed, or on the weekend, sleep into whenever, get up, before the internet starts to blaze. And
yeah, like why can't Disney be like Amazon with The Expanse and drop the show like 3 hours early or something?
Yeah. Speaking of which, The Expanse, I'm really into the new season, and the first 3 episodes were great. But yeah.
Oh yeah. That show is gonna give me a complex, mostly because I know what's supposed to happen, and yeah.
And I haven't read the books, and I tried to watch the first episode. This happened to me with season 4 also. I fell asleep, not because I wasn't interested, but just because by the time we watched it, so much had gone on that day, I was tired. And so my wife watched it. She's still bugging me. She's like, "Have you watched it yet? I want to watch the next one." And it's like, no, I haven't got to it yet. so I gotta get on that later today. Actually, probably while we're done recording.
There you go. There we go. And of course, we do have Derek Beebe with us. Derek, man, how you doing?
Oh, he's still here? Hi,
I'm doing great because I sink all my money into Disney stock, and now I'm rich.
Wait, Derek spent money on something?
Dollar bills.
Yeah, but all your earnings from Disney, you just spend it anyway going back to the parks when we're not in a pandemic, right? So, I mean, all the money's going back to them anyway.
Eventually, yeah. They haven't been getting much of a return this year, but, hopefully next fall, it's going to be crazy. Like, maybe I won't go to the cheapest hotel this time. Or maybe I'll pay a little bit for the preferred room closer to the bus stop.
Really? So we're not even talking about like All-Stars. Is that a possibility? The All-Star Resort, like actually on property, Derek?
Well, no. I always stay on property, but I always pick the cheapest hotel.
Okay.
Yeah, you definitely got to stay on property. I mean, that's like the whole allure of it, like being in the bubble of unreality. So I do always pay for the on-property, but I always get the cheapest thing there.
Yeah. Plus the free
2020 is a mess then because look, Joel's sober, Derek's actually looking about spending money. I mean, everything is like topsy-turvy.
I haven't kicked the crap out of anyone in months. Yeah.
That's shocking.
I know.
Dear Lord. And of course, Derek stays on property at Disney because of the free bus service, right? From the airport, the Magic Express thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Right. Speaking of businesses and business models, I got to ask you this, Derek. And I shake my head often, and I don't know why I always ask you about this stuff, but I do. How is our kitchen doing at the old pub?
Oh, maybe you didn't hear me before. I said that I've wallpapered the walls with dollar bills now that I'm so rich, and I've put out little bowls of dollar bills. I shredded them first so that you could kind of use them as like a relish or a garnish on your food. But I still thought it was a nice gesture.
Isn't it like a federal offense to destroy money or something?
Ugh.
I'm not sure.
Good
but,
thing we exist outside of normal space and time.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
a
actually,
heavy
all
fiber
all domestic laws don't apply inside the bar because we're at a nexus of space and time. So, no, never mind. That would be a bad joke.
yeah, it's a very odd way to do a tip out, but okay, let's go with that.
I was thinking of the Simpsons episode with the X-Files where Moe was like selling killer whales in the back room.
Yeah, let's not talk about that. Even that there's international intergalactic treaties on a wildlife trading. Okay, there you go.
Plus, the dolphins might get mad and send us another misinterpreted message.
Yeah, exactly. Eesh. But here, let's say this. We had some time to digest all the content announcements the Walt Disney Company made during its Investors' Day back about 10 days ago, so on December 10th, 2020. And they added on some previous announcements they made. And speaking personally, my mind is blown. There's so much content out there. I don't know where to begin, guys. And plus, we got a hint of something new in the post-credits scene of the season finale of The Mandalorian. Again, if you don't want to be spoiled over the latest episode of Mandalorian, please pause this podcast and go watch it. It's amazing. So let's get into it. Guys, where do you want to start? Because I can be all over the map there, Matt.
Yeah, do you guys want to start with Marvel or Star Wars, or just jump all over?
Actually, I do want to say this. I am super, super excited, and I must admit, this is just blowing. This is just so cool, guys. They're bringing back the Mighty Ducks TV series on Disney Plus. It's going to be great. I don't think it's offside from Disney at all. I think they're not skating on thin ice. I think they're going to stick handle this like you wouldn't believe. Who's excited? Hockey, come on, the Mighty Ducks.
Sure.
Anyone?
I'm more excited for your puns.
Back.
What I don't see on your list here, Joel, is they announced a Baymax series, and I'm really curious to see if this is supposed to be a series that's supposed to jump off of the current series running on the Disney Channel, or if this is going to be something entirely new.
Okay, yeah, I don't know because there's lots of unknowns. I read a bunch of the articles. I read the media releases. I didn't follow the announcement in real time because, of course,
me neither.
I was working, trying to pay bills, that type of stuff. Works already, by the way.
Yeah,
but
I've kind of up to my eyeballs in deadlines.
Mm-hmm.
But I do recommend the animated series for Big Hero 6 if you can find that.
I watch
Disney
it too.
Plus. It's really fun.
Oh, yeah?
It's very Marvel comic books too, because they have a lot of different characters with superpowers in it.
And Stan Lee was the voice of Fred's dad.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, okay,
Did
cool.
they get started in Marvel? Because I remember when I used to see those comics drop on Marvel, like on the previews books and such back, because I've been collecting Marvel for years, but I didn't know if they originated there, or if that was just one of those things they got permission to publish.
Yes, it was a small-time Marvel comic book sometime around the year 2000, and shockingly, Disney made a movie out of it. It was the first, I believe it was the first Disney Marvel movie, and it was a very strange property. I never had heard of it before that movie. It was just like a little forgotten comic book. I don't even know. It wasn't even in the continuity of Marvel. It was just one of those little creator-owned things that they did every once in a while.
Interesting.
But yeah, Big Hero 6, the series, is good.
That raises a question for me with Disney XD and some of the other content. Now we talk about Disney Plus. I'm still wondering, because I've heard news about DuckTales, they're not continuing that, and some of the other things that are happening.
I've actually kind of known about that one for a while.
Oh yeah, you've got your inside tips.
Well, I have a friend who's been working on DuckTales, so I actually knew about DuckTales ending with season 3 for about a year, and I know there had been some discussions about doing a Darkwing series, but now that Seth Rogen wants to do it, apparently they may go with his people and not.
Yeah, isn't that official? That Seth Rogen
I don't know.
is doing?
I don't know if it's official or not, but the backdoor pilot they did for Darkwing in season 3 of DuckTales, that was brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that show. I am so crushed it got canceled.
I'm wondering if I should start investing in it now, because when it came on, I was like, back when I had the DVR before Disney Plus, I was recording them because I wanted my kids to watch it. I liked DuckTales back in the day.
You know what? Whether or not it's ending with this season, I still highly recommend going back watching it. I mean, the cast is phenomenal. They brought back Jim Cummings for a couple of episodes to do the OG Darkwing, and there's a bit of a twist to that I won't spoil with what they did with Darkwing after that. They've kind of turned the whole Disney afternoon into like its own like mini connected universe type thing, which is really, really fun. And yeah, it's a blast.
And it's adult and kiddie at the same time. Like it beautifully walks the tone of being an actual, real story with continuity and consequences, while at the same time being for kids. It's great.
Yeah. I watched the first episode and liked it too.
A little bit, and it is nothing like this. It is very kiddie.
Oh, you mean the back in the day? The
80s show. Yeah, I've been sampling the 80s show. I was like, ooh, this is not as good as I remembered it being as a little kid.
I mean, it was good. It was good for the time as a kid. Yeah, I mean, granted,
but this DuckTales is for everybody.
Yeah, I tried to get my kids into it, and for whatever reason, it didn't take off with them then. But they like other Disney shows and series and such. Actually, watching Rescue Rangers, the original one, on Disney Plus, and I heard now they're doing a reimagining of that one as well. I think was one of the announcements.
Yeah,
yes, it's just a movie, and it's gonna I forgot who, but it's a live action animated hybrid movie like Roger Rabbit.
Oh, well, that could be interesting.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? I wouldn't mind a proper sequel to Roger Rabbit as well.
Yeah, that would be great.
That'd be a bit hairy, but yeah. Let me ask you this, Mike. Your kids, what if they know about the new announcements? What are they excited for?
So
how old are your kids? Just put that in
so
context.
I have triplets. They're turning 7 in January. So they definitely love Marvel and Star Wars and all those sorts of things. As far as the general Disney related, like the non franchise owned stuff, like the core Disney things. I mean, obviously I think when I told them about there being a Moana series, they're all about the Moana movie. They've loved that one for about a year. Like, it was on repeat constantly.
That's my favorite Disney movie of the modern era is that one. Plus, I like
so they're excited for the the TV series for Moana. I think I'm trying to remember a couple of the other things that I had mentioned. Most of the stuff they were excited for is probably related to the Star Wars and Marvel stuff. See, they were probably more into Marvel last in 2019 when we had Endgame and everything else happening, but now that we are kind of had the break from Marvel, I think Star Wars has taken over again as far as interest between Rise of Skywalker, the Clone Wars, and certainly Mandalorian. They love that. So I think right now they're probably more excited at the news of the Ahsoka series, whom they love that character because of Clone Wars and even through Rebels. They saw Clone Wars for the first time before the pandemic. We started watching it in anticipation of the new season on Disney Plus, and they had never seen it, and we of course hadn't watched a lot of those episodes in quite a while, so we did a full family rewatch. Nice. And they got really into, I guess they already knew Ahsoka from watching the movie a handful of times, but they really got into that character, of course. And so they're all about Ahsoka and Rex and the clones, and then they watched through Rebels and saw that evolution of the characters there, so they got into all those characters too. And so at this point, when they start hearing like some of the stuff in The Mandalorian this season, as far as seeding some of the post-Rebels stuff and Ahsoka and everything else, they, like as soon as Ahsoka's name got dropped in what was it, the 3rd episode this season, right. I knew it was coming from the rumors and such, but they had no clue. When they heard that name, they all like lit up. They were like really excited. So I'd say right now Star Wars is probably the big part of the announcements that they're like getting most excited for. But as this stuff drops, particularly with the Marvel stuff, I have a feeling their interest in Marvel will rekindle again once there's some content out there that we're watching, especially with and they know who Wanda and the Vision are as far as that upcoming series, but I wouldn't say that I'm not sure how much of Infinity War and Endgame they remember entirely because they were a lot younger when we saw those. So we'll have to see, how much of the excitement comes out of those. But certainly Star Wars and some of those Disney-related items, they're definitely getting on board with now and very excited. Not quite, maybe not as excited as their father and mother are.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Now about you, let's talk about the grown-ups, right? So Mike and your lovely wife, right? What new Star Wars content are you guys excited about?
So I'll be, I know you guys. I want to give everyone a chance to get their thoughts in. So I won't spend too much time on this, but I'll say that I think the biggest one that I'm most interested in, not from a fan perspective, but from the potential it has, is the Acolyte series because it's High Republic focused, and I'm really excited about this new era that Disney's finally breaking away from the nostalgia-laden Skywalker saga and all the expectations that come with that from all the different pockets of fandom out there. You're never going to please everybody with it, although I will say Mandalorian seems to be doing a good job of pleasing most people.
Right.
But I'm very excited about what they might finally bring with High Republic coming into live action, because I just think that that's going outside the saga and the familiar is the biggest strength that Lucasfilm can do creatively for the Star Wars franchise, and allow it to grow, do whole new sagas, whole new lore building, whether it's High Republic or something else, like maybe even the Patty Jenkins movie they announced, which is a big deal because I don't think a lot of people even had a clue that was coming. Like, I didn't hear any rumors about that one or nothing. Yeah. And that could be a whole new foray for something.
There are things that apparently managed to keep under wraps for over a year.
Referring to the finale?
Yeah.
No, why would I be doing that?
And just for our customers' sake who's listening to that, if you're not into Star Wars, the High Republic covers what era, guys?
Like I think it's 1,000 years.
It's
ago.
200 years.
200 years
200.
prior to Phantom Menace. Right. But apparently there's something being announced. I think I just saw it yesterday or today where they're saying it technically goes up to maybe 50 years before Phantom Menace. So it's like 200 years prior to 50 years prior. Okay. Is the range.
What I read was that starting in January, there's going to be this big novel comic book cross-promotion initiative called the High Republic. And that's going to take place at the 200-year-ago mark. But I read this morning that the Acolyte TV series is only 50 years before Phantom Menace. So it doesn't really have anything to do with the novel comic book series. It's more of a Phantom Menace prequel, in a sense. So maybe it's going to have Darth Plagueis in it, and it's going to be about him setting things up.
So I'm all about that. I love that novel. So
yeah. I mean, Darth Plagueis is just about my favorite Star Wars novel. But I was surprised because I thought that the Acolyte was going to be tying in to the novel comic book series, and now it's not. So that was kind of weird. So on the one hand, I'm excited for possibly getting Darth Plagueis on screen. On the other hand, I was hoping that this was going to be a live action continuation of the book and novel series that I'm very excited to start reading in January.
Yeah,
well, I think they also said it was supposed to be some kind of like mystery series or something like that. Which considering that you still kind of have to make Star Wars semi-kid friendly. I don't know how far into the dark they can go with it.
I think they could be creative for a PG-13 perspective. They could certainly go.
Oh yeah, but still, it's just like I reference this all the time. Some of us remember what the quote unquote dark days of Disney and
Black Cauldron.
I love Black Cauldron. But the era of Disney where they kind of did scare the crap out of all of us for a while, and we survived. Right.
I thought Black Hole was freaking scary when I saw that movie.
Black Hole. I mean, Maximilian scared the shit out of me for me 2 decades, and when I started hearing rumors that they were going to do a remake, I was like, okay, they have to figure out a way to make Maximilian scary again, because now Maximilian isn't that scary. At over 40, Maximilian is no longer as scary as he was when I was 5.
Funny you mentioned Black Hole too, I guess I brought it up, but that was the first movie on Disney, when Disney Plus came out, I was watching all the Star Wars content, of course, but the first other thing that I watched on there was actually Black Hole.
Me too.
Nice.
The first two things I watched was Return to Oz, which is creepier than anything.
Oh yeah,
and
I love
the Black
I love
Hole.
Return.
Yeah.
Well, I have Black Hole on DVD, so I can watch it. Actually, the first thing I looked for on Disney Plus, and I was very disappointed to not find it, was the Black Arrow miniseries.
Black
And it's still
Arrow?
not there. Yep.
Never heard of that.
It's from 1984. Oliver Reed is the villain, and it's just.
And that's not at all infringing on copyright. Oliver Reed, Oliver Queen, he was Black Arrow, Green Arrow, and that's
No.
Hey, I'm just happy. I'm just happy that I watch Blackbeard's Ghost on Disney Plus. I've seen that since I was a kid. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff buried on there that I just don't
I'm
realize
sorry,
is
it's
there.
from 1980.
Yeah.
It's from 1985.
So let's go back to Star Wars Ashoka, because that's interesting, because the tie-in of The Mandalorian, right? So in this season of The Mandalorian, I thought to myself, yeah, Ashoka's going to get her own series. Absolutely. After one of the chapters she was on this season. I don't recall what chapter number it was, like chapter 11, chapter 12, something like that. I'm actually quite excited for all these. There's a lot. The Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Apparently, of course, Christian Haydensen's coming back. So Kenobi and Darth Vader is going to get into it. Right?
Yeah, well, Derek knows I've been going on about this for since probably around the time Solo came out. There was everybody was speculating about the Kenobi film, that this, I guess, evolved into the Disney Plus series. And, at the time when Solo was out and they did that big thing of revealing the Maul was in the movie, spoilers if you haven't seen Solo yet. At this point, it's 2 years old, but that was a big game changer, because they finally were bringing stuff in from the animated series or the other lore that wasn't just in the films. So I thought, well, that's a big deal. If they can start doing that, then they can really do anything that they want to now in the films. Before Solo, bombed, and they decided to pull back on the standalone films. But the thing was, I was figuring that story with Kira and Maul was going to be like a thread line that they're going to pick up through all these spin-off films. We were thinking they were going to have a connected story with Fett and Kenobi and all that. And now it looks like in the Disney Plus era, that's what they're talking about doing with Ahsoka now. They were saying on I think the investment announcement, that the new announced Ahsoka series, the Rangers series, as well as the Mandalorian, are all supposed to be kind of interwoven with the story, they're all taking place at the same time. And it almost sounds like the Marvel method, where they're going to eventually culminate in some kind of big finale story or something. That I don't know if it's gonna be like an Avengers event type of thing, but it's gonna.
Yeah, I think they did say that they're gonna cross over at the end.
Yeah, but that's kind of like the Rangers of the New Republic. That's kind of what I've been hearing, but who knows, right? There are
Rangers, Ahsoka.
Yeah,
it was like Rangers got introduced. The Rangers got introduced also in this season. Well, I guess technically they got briefly introduced in episode 6 last season for Mando, but they were in for they had a lot more screen time in this season. And so you kind of get a feel for that this season as well, along with Ahsoka. There's a lot of seeding in Mandalorian season 2 for a lot of these, series potentially, including there's an end credit scene in the finale, which sets up yet another series. So again, I won't mention.
Spoiler alert! Number 4 now, is it number 4? Yes, the Book of Boba Fett. What's that all about?
So
apparently Boba Fett and Fennec Shan ruling Tatooine.
Yeah, a Tatooine in Jabba's old palace, right?
Yeah. By the way, Derek will at least appreciate this. Every time they say Rangers of the New Republic, I think Babylon 5, and then I get sad that Marcus isn't going to be a character.
So we could debate this for an hour, but I am very confused about whether the Book of Boba Fett is Mandalorian season 3 or not.
No, they said that it's gonna be 2 different things.
Yeah, 2 separate things.
I do get that, Derek, because that was what I mean, given all the rumors that Pedro Pascal was supposedly leaving after season 2, I kind of thought, well, if this is how they could resolve it and make, Mandalorian season 3 be about a different Mandalorian.
Yeah,
But
that's true. Like,
there
you
were
can keep
several
cycling out the
quotes.
protagonist because it doesn't matter. They're all Mandalorians.
Well, I think I said on somewhere that they just changed the name to the Mandalorians and have it be about more than one Mandalorian, and that solves all the problems.
But we know now it's not the Din and Grogu show, so that's the big thing, I guess, right? It's like I was under the impression, like, so much like Derek was asking, I had the impression that this was the series finale to some extent because the way they did the music in the last few episodes was getting grander and grander. The end credits were different from the usual. They were longer and they didn't have the artwork. It seemed like they were kind of saying, and of course the way the episode ended, as far as the Grogu story arc is resolved, again, spoiler alert, that whole thing, if people were thinking this was the Din and Grogu show from the start, then they were thinking, okay, well, now the series has concluded its main story. There was always talk that, well, the character could continue in a new story arc, which could continue in new seasons, of course. But some were thinking, well, maybe this is it. And it was really confusing because the Book of Boba Fett is supposed to come out Christmas 2021. And the rumors were season 3 of Mandalorian was supposed to come out in December of 2021. So that's why a lot of people started thinking they were one and the same thing.
Yeah.
But apparently that is not the case.
Well, see,
Go ahead, Derek.
I definitely think that is, well, first of all, several people from Lucasfilm have said on Twitter over this weekend that Pedro Pascal is not gone, that he is still around as a character. So, I mean, first of all, I know for a fact that, Din Djarin is not gone and that his story is continuing. I definitely did not think that this was an ending to his story or to Grogu's story in any way, shape, or form, if only for the financial reason that Jin and Grogu are the bankable stars of the show. And Disney has to look at this from a financial perspective, that you can't just get rid of the 2 stars of the show and start it over with somebody else. No matter how much we like Boba Fett, that is the risk of losing money, which they cannot do at this point. So I think no matter what, Grogu will come back. Like, Luke will return him and say, I'm sorry, but he's he has too much anger in him. I can't train him, and he'll give him back.
Or Grogu will get into a snit and want to go back to his daddy.
He'll get his family in armor, and he'll become a Mandalorian like his father, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
and we still have the Dark Saber arc to address.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah,
the whole
Dark
Dark
Gideon
Saber
and everything he was up to.
Unresolved question, right?
Yeah.
Well, and given things that happened in the last couple episodes of this season, I really want to see an exploration of Din Djarin, trying to figure out which rules of being a Mandalorian serve him and which don't, and which ones
how's he going to evolve the belief that he follows.
Which ones does he keep, which ones does he let go of, and I mean, come on, there have been several episodes this season where I've really wanted to see, like, the inside, like the Tony Stark view, where you just wish you could see the look on his face when something happens, like and that would be interesting to watch.
It would be,
and watch it and explore.
So personally, I think that whatever show that is airing in December of next year is The Mandalorian season 3, and it's going to be called The Book of Boba Fett, and maybe it'll certainly have Boba Fett in a prominent role. Maybe he'll be the starring role, but Pedro Pascal is going to be in that season. I don't think it's 2 different shows. I don't think I've read anything that has definitively said these are 2 different shows, because why wouldn't they announce the Boba Fett series at the investor call? They announced 10 other shows. Why would they sit on this one that's coming out before than all the other ones? That just doesn't make sense to me.
Because they were waiting for the last episode to drop.
Finale.
Yeah, they didn't want to clone old shows.
They don't care about spoilers. The point of the investor call is to make money.
But they know that the general public is also watching the investor call, and yeah, like some of that investor call is supposed to be boring, saying, okay, these are the things that we have planned, but we know that there are people watching who are going to be like, holy shit, they're doing this now?
But saying that there's a Boba Fett series does nothing to spoil the ending of Mando finale, aside from knowing that he's going to survive that particular episode.
Deal, because there was rumors that both Din and Boba Fett were potentially, like one or the other was going to get killed off. So I mean, and they did say there was a 10th series they didn't announce at the investor. Obviously, it was this one, but they said there was another one that wasn't being announced.
They did.
Yeah, well, they said there was 10, and they only announced 9 of them. So.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Math is important. Who knew? Okay.
Yeah, well, he's running the kitchen, so I guess math is not as important, right? The ingredients don't really matter. Mix in whatever the hell you want, But
I always forget the pinky counts as a finger. Okay.
But when you think about it. I think it is going to be 2 separate series. We've had a couple of different people that have some, information and such, and we've seen different things coming out. Lucasfilm people, they've even said there's a different production schedule from the March side is like, I think that March is when the production starts on Mando season 3. Boba Fett is rumored wise has already started production, already been in the works. So they may both come out at that time. I do believe Derek's right that Din's going to probably show up in the Boba Fett series because why not cross-pollinate, right? It helps to increase the popularity. But while I will agree that Grogu is probably that really big popular character, I think Boba Fett amongst the general fans, I'm not saying I'm a huge Fett fan, but I don't mind him, but I'm not like some of the old school fans. I'm not like all about him, but I think he still has probably more popularity from that perspective amongst the fandom than, say, Din might even at this point. Grogu, of course, amongst general audiences is just through the roof. Those memes make him really popular. I mean, it's hard to kind of...
Yeah, but for the general audience who doesn't probably even know who Boba Fett is, Mando is the one that they've been watching for the last 2 years. That's the one they feel the connection with. I mean, yes, Boba Fett did have a very cool sequence where he was, beating up stormtroopers with his gaffy stick. But I don't know how much that is going to sync with people who don't know the Star Wars movies or don't know who Boba Fett is.
Well, see, but they watched that end scene, and now they're all bought into him. Now they want to see what happens because they watched that end scene, So it's like, ooh.
I'm just saying that I think that Jin and Grogu are where it's at for the general audience that doesn't know Star Wars.
I don't think season 3 of Mandalorian. I think it'll continue Din's story, probably Din's story with Bo-Katan, of course, because that's the big Mandalorian story at this point is those guys and what's going to happen with Mandalore itself and the ruler of Mandalore and the Purge. We have to still learn more about that, but the Mando Purge, that is. But the thing is, Grogu, I know he's going to show up probably in different spots throughout these series, right? But I don't think he's going to be a main focus in season 3 of The Mandalorian. And I wouldn't even be surprised if he doesn't show up at all in the season. But I mean, I'm sure like if people are expecting to see him, they might put him in there somewhere. But I don't think you're going to see his story as a regular through line in the continuation of The Mandalorian. I think he's going to move somewhere else.
Yeah, you can cuckoo the child all you want. Cuckoo, but
I thought you said cuckoo.
No, if you want to clean up cuckoo, that's different.
Poo-poo, cuckoo, cuckoo. I'm reading the subtitles, closed caption. That's how I watch the Disney stuff. So but there's also other Disney shows out there, and like Lando. Do we have a Lando story? That sounds kind of fun.
Oh yeah, I'm very. I didn't know that was coming at all, and I'm very excited. They didn't specifically say that Donald Glover is going to do it, but I can only hope and assume that he will.
I would love to see some kind of combination of Donald Glover and Billy D. Williams.
Yeah, that would be great.
If we're talking,
going to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's also Andor. I like my spy thrillers, so Andor takes place before the events in Rogue One. Looks quite interesting.
Well, they can't take place after Rogue One.
Spoilers.
Maybe you can.
That movie's been out for 10 years. I don't think we need to.
Nobody stays dead in Star Wars.
The opening shot is a cloud of dust floating in space, and his voiceover says, "You're probably wondering how I ended up this way."
Oh God!
It's a funny story.
Hey, we have cloning in Star Wars. There's always another clone waiting around for everybody, right? You know.
Oh,
True.
dear.
True.
Yes, and/or with like 3 R's on the end.
Yeah, we don't have to bring
No,
up that.
two O's or something.
Yeah.
Endured.
The EU had lots of interesting things. Some of which not so much.
We've known about the Cassian show for a while, and I'm definitely excited for that one. It wasn't a shocker announcement because, of course, we've known about that one for a while, but I'm definitely looking forward to that one.
Yeah, I think that has a lot of potential, right? Because we haven't really gotten a true spy, like kind of if that's the direction they go, showing more details of the rebellion. Of course, that we haven't got the early rebellion, but I'm certainly thinking it's the spy angle and such, and you get K2SO back because they said why am I blanking out his name too?
Alan Tudyk.
Yeah, Alan. Yeah, he's coming back, right? So that's a win right there. So it's
plus if they deal with the whole fulcrum system at all, there is also potential to see Ahsoka there.
And like, I expect
briefly.
that fully, actually, that we're going to actually get a little cameo bit of her in there for that. I think they're going to take these big characters and sprinkle them throughout all these series where they can. Obviously Kenobi, we mentioned it before, the fact that was a big reveal that you've got Hayden Christensen coming back as Anakin for that, which means obviously
they said Darth Vader.
Not obvious, I guess, but
I think they said specifically that he's coming back as Darth Vader, though. So that
correct, he's coming back as Darth Vader,
and that they're going to fight.
We're expecting a fight, a duel between the two of them, which is one of those things I had speculated back when Solo came out, that in the Kenobi film they would have Maul as a main antagonist. They may not be doing that now, although he'll probably get his own D+ series eventually. But they're going to have Vader and Kenobi fight off then, which is something I had talked about way back. And they said, well, if you look at the dialogue in A New Hope, depending upon which way you look at the context of each line that's delivered by Vader about Kenobi, there's only like 2 or 3 lines. And it works that they could have had a meeting sometime after Mustafar and before A New Hope. And it looks like that's the route they're actually going to go with this, unless it's all a big trolling thing and it's going to be like a vision or some kind of otherworldly like meeting or something. It's not like we're actually happening, but I don't think that's the case. I think they're going to bring them together.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like the whole thing with the end of Rogue One. It's like you think you know what Vader and Kenobi are talking about during their duel in New Hope, but do we really?
Exactly, and I think that's great because ultimately, if you could get Vader back in any of these series, why wouldn't you? I mean, I wouldn't mind a Vader series itself, even though I know that's he's gotten so much attention in the comics and everything right now too. But I mean, we never really get that core Vader between the height of his own, power before A New Hope, after Revenge of the Sith, while he's going through leading those purges and such with the Inquisitors for the Emperor. We don't really get a whole lot of that other than the recent canon that they've kind of flushed out a little bit. I wouldn't mind a D+ series with Vader, and maybe this is the forerun to that. I'm also hopeful when we talk the Ahsoka series that because Hayden will be on set working on the Kenobi production, which is supposed to start up soon, I think. I'm hopeful that we might even get the Anakin Force Ghost we should have gotten in Rise of Skywalker. I'm hoping that we'll actually get something with him and Ahsoka getting a nice reunion in her series, potentially.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
And guys, there's more Star Wars series we can talk about. A Droid Story, The Bad Batch, Visions. Visions is supposed to be an anime, is that right?
Yeah, it's like
That's
anime
trippy.
shorts done by famous Japanese directors.
Yeah.
Is it supposed to be like a readapting of existing stuff or brand new?
I think it's just going to be
understand.
like weird little artistic pieces, not like an actual story.
All of the above, Mike.
Yeah.
All of the above.
Okay. That would be
I don't
really
know.
interesting because
I mean,
the
that's just
Galaxy
me guessing.
of Heroes was it called Galaxy of Adventure? I forget the new thing they were doing, but that had that kind of a similar sort of anime style, I think, to it, the way they were doing the animation, and I think that would be really interesting to explore with Star Wars.
Yeah.
It sounds like the Animatrix. Do you remember that with the Matrix
Yeah.
back in like 2003?
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll just be like a bunch of shorts, and they're just like little weird artistic pieces that like have no greater story. They're just like nice little things that a famous person came up with.
And what's the other? They had another series they mentioned there too, the Droid's Tale. Is that what it was?
The Droid
Or is this-
Story.
Yeah, we don't really know what that. We just know it's about R2 and 3PO mentoring a new droid. So, that's about all we know about it. So
Did they say it's a different style of animation technique or something like that? Like it's a mix of, was it a mix of 2D and 3D or something like that?
that I don't remember.
I don't know.
I thought they had mentioned something about it that made it sound like it was going to be another one of those innovative type of things, like something new from Lucasfilm in the animation or technology kind of department with it. Like they were going to try to do something different with it, which would be interesting to see too if they go that route.
Mm.
Yeah. There's also the Bad Batch from the Clone Wars, right? The last season of the Clone Wars. And it's interesting. I think these guys are working for Tarkin, right? They're working still for the New Empire.
They're supposed to be. I think the headline, the tagline for it when they revealed it in the summer was, like they're trying to find where they belong and their place and everything now that the Empire's in place and the power. Like, what is their role as the clone? As unique clones as they were, but they're still clones. Trying to figure out where they belong now in this whole new power structure.
Wow.
And apparently, spoiler, Fennec is in there too. It looks like that was officially confirmed. Ming-Na Wen is voicing Fennec, the younger Fennec, in that series. So, given more tie-ins to like the Mandalorian and things of that nature too, we'll see some backstory, I guess, on Fennec.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
I wouldn't be surprised if Boba Fett shows up in there too. Now to think about it, because we never got his ending story in the Clone Wars series. Like
that is true. That's true, and we this way we also maybe get to find out why Fennec is wanted in the Empire, or something like that.
Yes.
And we also have I know a lot of people really liked Echo and that story, that his whole story from the very beginning of the Clone Wars and ending up with the Bad Batch at the end. So assuming he'll be a part of that group, it'll be really neat to see that character's story continue forward and to see what happens, with some of those, and there's still the possibility that even Rex or Ahsoka, someone like that, could even show up at some point in the story too. I don't know if they'll go that connected, because sometimes everybody seems to know everybody in this, connected small universe of Star Wars. So,
yeah, and we have Star Wars films being considered too, right? So we have a new trilogy coming out. So we have the Waititi Star Wars film. Taika Waititi. Great name, but that's going to be hopefully a fun, more comedic take on Star Wars. All right, but
they haven't said any trilogies. They just said the Taika movie and Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron movie.
Yeah, there was a trilogy from the Game of Thrones guys, but then when they got their Netflix deal and bailed out, the 22, 24, 26 trilogy movies kind of got revamped into this. So we assume Taika's going to be probably the one in 2025 now to the pandemic shift, and Patty Jenkins, they confirmed her Rogue Squadron movie will be coming out December of 2023. So that'll be the first theatrical, I think, release.
I'm excited about that because we need to have a fighter plane movie, right? Okay, fight jetter, and that's like, and there's so much legacy and history because of the Legacy series, which I haven't read in decades. But it's like, let's go do Top Gun in space. I'm so
if we even if they have to be changed a bit, if we could get some of those characters from the X-Wing books translated onto film, that would be amazing. I'm personally pulling for Wes Jansen and Piggy, but
Yeah,
was that the one that also had Corran Horn in it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the director, Patty Jenkins, sorry, what's her name again? I
did the Wonder Woman movies.
Yeah, which is great, and I can't wait for the next Wonder Woman movie to drop next week. But saying that, apparently her dad was a fighter pilot.
Yeah, she said in the trailer announcement that her father was a fighter pilot and he died, and she's doing this to honor him.
Yeah, that's amazing. Can't wait for that.
Yeah.
And also interested with that too, I think a lot of people are, based on the tagline, they said this would introduce us to the future era of Star Wars as well. A lot of people are assuming this movie is going to take place after Episode 9 in the timeline, which would be the first real push they're doing forward beyond the Skywalker saga story in the timeline. So if that's the case, this could also be the forefront of the next big creative push for Lucasfilm on the going forward. Like, so we'll get, assuming that we get a state of the galaxy kind of understanding at that point of what's going on. If it is years after in Episode 9, this could be a first taste of all kinds of ideas going that way.
Oh wow.
Yeah, my number one point of excitement for that movie is the fact that it's potentially taking place after Episode 9. Because I'm more of a Jedi guy than a fighter plane guy. So just doing an X-Wing movie isn't super exciting for me, but if this is going to be our first look at the post-sequel political landscape, that'll be very interesting.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm more of the Jedi interest in the lore there, but my only concern is if they are moving forward, I hope this time they're doing it with a plan and have at least thought about the galaxy and the bigger picture and what's been happening before they just start like making it up as they go.
Absolutely.
Right.
Wow, that's a lot of Star Wars, guys. But there's also a lot of, MCU stuff we could talk about. Marvel, right? Where do you guys want to start?
Oh, well, I
Happy
lost
birthday
track of the movies
Happy
that they're
birthday
doing.
to me. Loki comes out in May.
Loki, yeah.
Yeah, Loki. I think Loki's gonna be a lot of fun. I've been excited about that one since they announced it, and since I wondered what the hell happened to him in Endgame when he stole the Tesseract and disappeared there in the middle of the movie.
Yeah, he went full out DB Cooper, I think. So there's that one. I can't wait for that one. But there's we're getting WandaVision January 15th when it drops, right, on Disney Plus, which is going to be really cool. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, there's been some trailers out on that. That looks amazing.
And that's bringing back a lot of the characters from the Captain America movies, too. You're getting Agent 13, Sharon Carter, she's back. And also, was it Zemo? He'll be back there for that. So it'll be nice to see some through lines through those characters as well. The legacy of Captain America, Steve Rogers, kind of seeing what happens with that.
Yeah. This What If series is interesting. It's more comic-like, right? Because it's animated and telling alternative stories of superheroes that we.
Well, what if has traditionally been the Marvel equivalent of DC's Elseworlds.
Yep.
So. Yeah,
and they got Haley Atwell back for the first episode to do the voice for. Was it Captain Carter or something like that?
It'll be Captain Britain, I think.
Yeah, she's going to be the. It's like if she got the superhero, the soldier serum instead of Steve Rogers, and so it's like, hey, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's so cool.
And then I think Hawkeye comes out after that one. I believe is next in the schedule.
Which one?
I think Hawkeye was next after that.
Yeah, so Hawkeye. I don't know about that, because Hawkeye refers to two different superheroes, right? There's the Kate Bishop, and then there's the Hawkeye from the Avengers series, from movies.
So you're saying it's two different series, like Mando and Boba Fett?
No. It's one. This one's one series with two different characters all being in it. Because I think Haley not Haley.
Haley Steinfeld.
Yeah, it is Haley. Haley Steinfeld is going to be Kate Bishop.
Yeah, they're filming that. There's been pictures of them filming, so
yeah,
that one's on the way.
And I think WandaVision being the first foray of Phase 4 of Marvel since Black Widow got delayed again and again, it's going to be a very interesting start for their phase, and also in Disney Plus. But the show looks really interesting. I'm waiting for it to be like almost like a Doctor Strange type of ride as far as all this crazy stuff going on, and you just don't know what to expect.
Well, I think it's supposed to filter into Doctor Strange too, so that's
true.
Sense.
Yep. It's that, and they said, and apparently Spider-Man 3, which Sony is still working on, I think that's supposed to come out in December of 2021. That wasn't part of the announcements, I don't think. But that's also supposed to have a tie-in.
Yeah, I know that one's not on the list because it's not technically a Disney movie. But is anyone else getting the Crisis on Infinite Earths vibe from all the announcements of who's coming back for?
They're chucking everybody
Spider-Man
in there.
3.
Yeah, and I'm kind of wondering if it's actually going to be like Crisis on Infinite Earths on CW, where it's just like, here's a little fan gimme cameo for like 30 seconds or something, but it doesn't really amount to anything significant other than getting to see the old actors playing characters again.
Yeah.
But I kind of wonder if it's going to be a little more substantial.
I would not object to that.
Yeah.
You mean just the 30-second cameos?
Yeah, I would not object at all. I mean, come on, they got so much mileage out of all the cameos on in Crisis. That was just brilliant. And if you didn't know who certain people were, that's fine. But if you did, it was like,
well, I'm fine. I'm fine if they want to bring them back, because I guess now that means I'll have to watch all the old Spider-Man movies as part of MCU canon then, because if they do that. But I'm kind of worried if they do that with X-Men, because I really don't want a good chunk of those movies to be canon.
Too funny. We have Legends coming out, MCU Legends, which is a reminder, a little Cole's Notes version of the Marvel movies to remind people what happened in like the Avengers. Am I getting this right?
Yeah, it sounds like a glorified DVD featurette.
So I said Cole's Notes, so in the States it'd be like Cliff Notes, right? So
Yeah.
So does that, and that I guess means that we were supposed to get the Fury Files was supposed to be a Disney Plus Marvel series with Sam Jackson that was going to come out back in May, I think, and then it just disappeared. No one ever mentioned it again. They had announced it at one point, so I don't know if that is evolving to
Secret
this.
Invasion.
Oh yeah, so he's got Secret Invasion now, right?
Yeah.
That's another big one that they announced where they're going to take the story thread they started in what was it, Captain Marvel, and then and actually in Spider-Man Far From Home at the end credit scene. They kind of revealed a big to do with the Skrulls and Fury. So that to me, actually, as far as the Marvel series, the D Plus series go, that's one of the ones that's got me most curious because I'm hoping we get a lot of major ramifications on what we, like when Carrie was saying before, it's like, well, do you think you know the whole story between Vader and Kenobi? Well, now it's like, do you think you know the whole story between what the characters were doing and why in the MCU that we've seen so far? I'm hoping it's like a whole bunch of big surprises and major impacts from that series.
That's amazing.
Much like the comic book story.
That's actually the one that I'm looking forward to the most out of the things that we didn't already know about, because we knew we were getting a Sam Jackson series, but we didn't know it was going to be him and Talos and Secret Invasion. So I am very excited for that because, I mean, Secret Invasion isn't the greatest Marvel comic book event ever, but I thought it was very solid and it had some major changes to the MCU. So I really like Secret Invasion, the comic book. So the fact that they're adapting it and doing it with Sam Jackson, that's very cool. I would have thought they would have saved that for like an Avengers movie. But
Yeah,
I'm very excited that they're doing Secret Invasion.
Yeah, I would have thought that they would have, built the next phases of Marvel of the MCU up to have that be like the next big event team up movie. But I mean, this gives us, potentially like 6-8 hours of content rather than, 4.
Mm-hmm. And that's the plus of Disney Plus, right? these series really give you a lot more room for the character growth and longer form stories that you just don't get in the theatrical, like 2-hour, 2.5-hour movie, or in the case of Endgame, a 3-hour Hold My Bladder movie. So I think it's definitely one of those like plus, I mean, it is a real plus, I think, from the story angle and being able to really dive into some of these ideas more. But I was expecting the same thing. Like one big key omission, because they have lots of Disney Plus series from Marvel, lots of movie announcements and clarifications on the schedule, right, for a lot of these sequels that we were expecting or first time movies. But the thing was, there was no Avengers 5 mentioned or the next Avengers movie. And so we still don't really know like what all these different Phase 4 films and D Plus series are building to. We do know, because Kevin Feige said that all this stuff matters. The Disney Plus stuff directly ties into film stuff. It's all going to be interrelated, so every little bit of stuff we're getting on either side is going to probably have some relevance somewhere. But we don't know what we're building to. I mean, one of the biggest shockers, I think, was Ant-Man 3's villain. They announced it is going to be Kang the Conqueror. It's going to be the Ant-Man 3 villain.
I heard that as a rumor a long time ago, and I was like, there's no way they're introducing Kang in an Ant-Man movie. He's one of the Avengers' greatest villains, but they're doing it.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe that's the seed, but and then Fantastic Four has also finally got a release date, so that's coming. But it's like, but then what are they building towards? That's what I'm most interested to find out. Whether it be watching, because I don't think Black Widow is going to give us a whole lot of that information probably, but I imagine maybe the Eternals might, which was supposed to be the next Phase 4 movie in the release schedule. And I'm figuring between that and I'm thinking Doctor Strange 2 seems like, and I'm very excited to see Doctor Strange 2. I really like that first movie. But I'm figuring that's going to be between the Disney Plus series tie-in, Spider-Man 3, and then ultimately Doctor Strange. I'm looking for Doctor Strange 2 to be like this major reveal about the multiverse, and that this is going to be kind of setting the ground of where Marvel's going to go with film and D Plus series from that point forward, I'm thinking.
And we have other series as well, right? We have the Miss Marvel series, which I think is going to be more character based, which is cool.
And I love that character. She's a great character.
Right. And there's She-Hulk as well. Is She-Hulk? What's happening with that? Like,
supposed to be a comedy, I'm hearing.
Yeah.
It's a legal drama comedy.
No joke, eh?
Oh,
God.
And fortunately, they announced that Mark Ruffalo is returning, and also Tim Roth as the Abomination. That was a big shocker.
Yeah, it's nice to see those
And they finally confirmed that Tatiana Maslany is going to be playing She-Hulk.
Yep.
Which is awesome.
Very
And
nice.
I think they've been kicking around rumors that maybe Charlie Cox will come back.
I heard that for Spider-Man 3, but of
I
course
heard that for
everybody's going to be in
Spider-Man
that
3,
movie.
but I would, yeah, but and I think Guardians of the MCU mentioned this, that, I would love to see, the two of them just interacting in like in a courtroom for at least like one scene. Like, come on, this is perfect. You have the two Marvel superheroes who actually happen to be lawyers, either on a case together or opposing each other or what have you, and that would be fascinating.
Wow.
I like that tie into Abomination, and even Mark Ruffalo, they confirm, will be in this too. So, because with the Universal Studios rights with the Hulk, right? They can't make Hulk movies right now because they still have.
TV.
But they can do TV, exactly. And it was like the same thing with Spider-Man, I understood too. Actually, even though they're working nice with Sony for the Spider-Man film, there's nothing stopping Disney from making a D+ series for Spider-Man and putting his characters in there. My understanding is that it's only the films that the rights Sony has tied up. I might have that wrong, but that was my understanding. They could make a series with Spider-Man in it.
I believe they have the animated rights, but not the live action rights because what's her name? The actress turned director. She was in Tron Legacy. What's her name?
The one that
Olivia
played
Wilde.
Psylocke?
Olivia Wilde.
They've announced that she is doing a spider-themed live-action project for Sony, and it's not clear whether it's a movie or a TV show.
Oh, but that's under Sony.
Yeah, that's under Sony, not Marvel. Yeah.
All right, well, Disney will buy out Sony soon enough.
Well, and whether you agree with the ship or not, there are reasons why they shipped Black Widow and Hulk in Avengers 2, and it has everything to do with the fact that they couldn't get the rights to Betty Ross.
Oh, yeah. Well, that I do like the fact that they're at least bringing back Tim Roth as Abomination and having those connections, because that Incredible Hulk movie does get kind of left out in the cold. I mean, it's also not on. It's one of the 3 films not on Disney Plus for the MCU, the 2 Spider-Man films and the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah. But but it's weird though, because that whole issue goes right out the window when you consider that they got General Ross for the Avengers movies. Like, okay, so you could bring in General Ross for Civil War and Infinity War, but you couldn't bring in his daughter because why?
I don't know if that was more of an actress availability issue than a rights issue.
And they could have recast.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as I
loved,
they recast the Hulk. I mean, as much as I liked Liv Tyler in the role, they could have recast her.
But I am excited to see the She-Hulk.
Agreed.
I'm also excited to see this comedy idea too, because I'm even excited to see that eventually tackled in Star Wars, where you have like a series that is trying to be comedic. I mean, Ant-Man, I guess, kind of is that for Marvel already. Like, it fits the comedy genre in a sense. But I think this is a very interesting series idea with She-Hulk, and of course the character is pretty cool to begin with. So,
yeah, guys, this can go on and on. This is so much content coming out. Like, we haven't even talked about it, like Armor Wars. What's that? That's kind of like the technology from Iron Man gets to...
Yeah, I'm really excited for Armor Wars, too, because it's going to star Rhodey, and it's going to do one of the most popular Iron Man storylines from the 80s. So, yeah, that was the other one that we knew nothing about. So my 2 biggest unexpected excitements was for Secret Invasion and Armor Wars and Fantastic Four, but we knew that was going to get there eventually.
And maybe Armor Wars will have the Mandarin tied into it too, to some extent, because we'll get Justin Hammer back, because Shang-Chi movie is going to have the real Mandarin, right? So,
that's true, yes.
Yeah. Hey, and bring Ben. I know he wasn't the real Mandarin, but bring Ben Kingsley back, because he was.
Well, they have to.
Awesome.
They have to.
Just if he's like in a cage in the Mandarin's lair begging for release.
Yeah, they got to do something funny to tie that back in too, because that was like a huge turn of play that nobody was expecting.
Yeah. Also, I Am Groot. What is that? That's a spinoff of some type.
That's just going to be like a little kiddie cartoon.
That's going to be something my kids love. My kids will love that show.
It's there to plant the idea of Marvel. Yeah, I got you.
My kids, the first movies they really got sucked into, because I wasn't going to let them watch the MCU films at first because they're a little more violent and a little older. I think a little bit of an older set, but I think the grandparents let them watch like Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm like, what? It's like one of the worst ones, and it was like, and they loved it, and so I was like, all right, the Pandora's box has been opened, so we started watching them all. But they love the Guardians movies, especially with the soundtracks and all.
Yeah, and then we're gonna what's this? The Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special.
That I can't wait.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
That's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
That's going to be, I mean, it's going to be everything that the Star Wars holiday special is not. That's what I'm hoping for.
Hey, the Lego holiday special was fun.
Yeah, that was really
was.
fun.
And my kids are actually watching that one right now. That's what's on the TV.
Amazing. Guys, we can talk about Star Wars. We can talk about Marvel for hours and hours. We haven't even talked about Willow yet. You know, that's
or Indy 5.
Oh, Indy
I
5.
know.
Indy 5 is what I'm looking excited for.
I just have one question about the Willow series, and I am wondering if it's going to be an adaptation of the Lucas Claremont trilogy, or if it's going to be something completely new.
I believe it's new because I started to read those books back in the day, and the description they gave in the new show sounds nothing like it.
Okay, yeah, because I've read the trilogy. The first book is a bit of a slog, but the next two are fascinating.
See, that's interesting because I couldn't get through the first one. I was so excited to read it, and I was like, oh, this is boring.
Yeah, the first one is a real slog, and it makes it hard to watch Willow again because knowing that half the characters are going to die. But
Spoiler. No.
But again, the books have been out for like 20 years.
Yeah, I know. I have to watch. Actually, Willow's on D+ now, right? So I have to actually introduce that to my kids after the holidays.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. I would be amiss if I didn't mention this new. I think it's going to be just a movie for Disney Plus, based off the book "Children of Blood and Bone" by a young adult fantasy novel by this Nigerian American novelist. I'm going to butcher this name. I'm very sorry, Tomi Adeyemi. That's kind of interesting, bringing more diverse voices, which is always a good thing.
And they said that that's Lucasfilm doing that one, right? So
Yes.
they're saying that was the talk of a potential new franchise for them. I thought in the investor call, like they're going to take that and maybe spin it off into its own franchise, right?
Which is very interesting.
I thought it was a theatrical movie, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. So, of course, we're also going to get things like Jungle Cruise, which has been sitting and delayed because of COVID for over a year now. So I can't wait for that because I love the ride. That's my favorite ride in Disney World.
I'm still hoping that they pull in as much of the old OG shtick from the ride as they can, because they can.
We didn't get to go on the ride when we were there at Disneyland, and we were I think this was actually for Celebration. Maybe it was it couldn't have been 2015, maybe, but I can't remember now, but maybe it was that, or maybe I'm thinking it was Disney World. I can't remember which park it was now, but we were supposed to get on a ride. It was closed, and we found out later it was closed because The Rock was there filming stuff there for it, and I was like,
nice.
Nice. That's
well,
lovely.
The secret is, I don't know how relevant that's going to be when things are open here again, but the secret to the Jungle Book ride is to wait until like just before closing, when the ride ops are really, really punchy, and that's when they go back to the old scripts, because they're too punchy to care, and most of the people riding don't care, and don't care either.
Amazing.
The effects look a lot better at night too.
Yeah.
Well, and it's stuff like, here's something you don't see every day, but I do.
I think I remember too. It was right by the Dole Whip stand, wasn't it? So I could load up on Dole Whip and get in line.
Well, no, it's the entrance to the Indiana Jones ride is right there. So they've been doing the shtick where you see the people going past the ride to get to Indiana Jones, and they will point that out as like as a tourist spot. Like, yeah, here you see some people going. I forget what the script is, but people queuing for something or other or whatever.
That's so cool. Pixar's two more Pixar's feature films coming out: Luca and Lightyear. as in Buzz Lightyear. Kind of cool, right?
It's supposed to be the real life story, right, of Buzz Lightyear, and like where the toy inspiration came from. Is that the idea?
Yeah, it's not Buzz Lightyear, the character. It's like a real life astronaut that the toy was based on, which doesn't sound terribly interesting to me, but we'll see.
We'll see.
It's Disney. You know they'll do a good job.
Yeah.
And we're getting some live action stuff, Pinocchio, as well as Peter Pan and Wendy. So if you like all these remakes of live action Disney classics, there's that.
But the big thing too that I think out of those theatrical discussions is this whole thing about what's getting released on Disney Plus versus the like Premier Access or whatever they call that extra, the thing they did with Mulan, versus the ones that they're still holding on to try to do a theatrical release with. Everyone was so surprised that they didn't announce that Black Widow wasn't coming straight to Disney Plus, and I was like, no, I'm pretty sure Disney stands the most to gain by trying to keep theaters alive and giving them these big movies as a reason to kind of keep people going. Yeah. So if the pandemic starts to turn a corner in their eyes, even if they have to push it again to August or whatever in the summer, I think that's the route they're trying to do, because they'd still rather secure across the globe these films in theaters, whereas other ones they probably can already tell, well, the return on investment was always questionable or maybe not necessarily guaranteed. So they were going to drop those to Disney Plus and try to get the extra $30 out of people and such. Although I will say we haven't watched Mulan yet. We were opting to wait for it for free because I wanted to see it in theaters. I was all gung-ho about it before the pandemic hit. We had tickets for it, but I wasn't, as keen on needing to see it the day it dropped on Disney Plus. I was willing to wait until now, and actually, I guess it's been free for a few weeks, and I haven't had a chance to watch it.
It is
yet.
free. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I think they're waiting to see how Wonder Woman 84 does.
Yeah.
Before they throw in the towel and say, "Oh, we're just gonna release these on Disney Plus."
Yeah. Well, guys.
Which I know this is completely off topic, but I'm sure Joel is very excited to be able to see Dune, even if it's not in theaters.
Yeah, can't wait for Dune. No,
I was so excited for Dune in the theater. That's my thing. It's like I really want that. I feel like that's a movie experience that really needs to be in the theater to really fully appreciate. And I actually was excited because I've seen the old Dune and I've heard bits about it and why it's so popular, but I haven't really gotten into that franchise heavily, and I figured this would be the movie that would do it. A new modern movie telling of it, and I really want to see it in the theater. Yeah. But it doesn't look like it's going to happen.
Well, the spice must flow regardless, man. The spice must flow.
Agreed.
Well, guys, we've talked for over an hour. It's actually approaching like an hour and 15 minutes. This has been one hell of a bar conversation. I must admit that. It's like doing like a survey course at university. You touch on a lot of content, but we didn't do any deep dives into the specific stuff. And that's cool. That's great. I'm actually motivated. I'm so psyched for the future of Disney and Disney Plus. It's good times. Any last thoughts before we close our doors?
I'm so excited about everything.
Yeah, what a time to be a fan of all these different franchise pieces in Disney.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. 10 TV series for each, sub franchise sounds daunting until you realize that these are probably like either limited or like half season series. So that doesn't sound quite as hard to watch.
And stretched out over 3 years. I don't think we're getting this stuff.
Plus over 3 years. But like 10 full-length seasons of something sounds very hard to deal with. But 10 shows that have made that some of them might be limited and most of them being maybe like 8 to 10 episodes long, I can handle that.
Wow. Yeah, I think with that, we need to close our doors. This show is released as a podcast and on YouTube. Subscribe today. Yes. So it's released on the podcast, and it takes me a day or two to get up on YouTube generally because it takes so long to run a video. So I'm blaming the technology. Yeah. Check out our Discord server. It's a great source of news and discussion at times. Sometimes it's hopping, sometimes it's not. Yes, welcome to Discord. Our social media channels. Yes, we are on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I do the Twitter and Instagram, and our friend Derek does the Facebook. Derek, man, you're doing a great job.
Thank you very much.
What else can I tell you guys? Let's see. Yes, you can send us an email at management@scifipubcast.space. Carrie, what's your Twitter handle?
My Twitter handle is Carrie Blackfire42. That's KERI Blackfire42.
And what other podcasts are you on?
I am on Cape Chronicles, which is a survey show of superhero movies going back to the Superman movie from 1979. I am on DC Talk, which is a DC comics news and movie news and discussion show. And I'm also on Enter the Dojo, which is Mike, Shannon, and I discuss martial arts, television, and films, which we're doing our second episode today on season two of Cobra Kai.
Very cool, and that's at the Random Chatter Network.
Yes.
So go check these shows out. Derek, what's your Twitter address?
I'm at Derek J. Beebe, and I'm not on any other podcast because you made me sign that exclusivity clause.
No,
so.
you can break it, then I'll just sue you, okay? And I'll just take your condo away. That's how it works. And hey, Mike, Mr. Mike Clark, thank you so much for visiting our fine establishment at the bar. Very much appreciates your insights and the conversation. We're all about good bar conversation here. Where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, well, Joel, thank you for having me. I don't tend to do a lot on social media. I tend to actually hang out on your Discord server as far as when it comes to SciFi Pubcast. So you can find me under there, under the name Erasure. And on Twitter, I think I'm at Erasure7, but I think I've only posted like two tweets in my life. So, you won't find a lot of activity from me on there. But I do tend to float around on the Discord SciFi Pubcast server, amongst others. So that tends to be where I hang out when I have the spare cycles I get when not dealing with the kids.
Fair enough. For my Twitter address, I can be found at Joel_Welch, WELCH. What else? Oh, yes, friend of the show, Randall Graham. You may have heard of him. Buy his books for Christmas or for, just buy his books. Before Life, Afterlife Crisis by ECW Press.
Sorry, Randall, my glass is empty, so I can't drink.
That's no excuse, Mike.
Drink. There you go.
I already did.
Closing.
Joel has us trained.
Exactly, like a Pavlovian dog. Okay, good. It's closing time, guys and folks. Please take care and make it home safe. We'll see you next time. Bye now.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Yay.
Merry Christmas.
And
holidays.
2021 is going to be a better year. Let's hope and pray.
We hope.
Okay.
Can't be any worse.
Music provided courtesy of Logan Rathbone. Podcast logo by Jea Rhea. Copyrighted Joe Welch. Listen responsibly, and we can't wait for your next visit to our fine establishment. Cheers.